Was it,
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Excuse me. This is a regular session of the Mayor and Council of the City of Bisbee, County of Cochise, State of Arizona, being held on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022 at 7:03 p.m. in our council chambers. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Joni Giacomino.
here,
Councilmember Frank Davis.
Here.
Mayor Ken Budge.
Here.
Councilmember Leslie Johns.
here,
Councilmember Mel Sweet.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Anna Klein.
here,
City Staff Stephen Pocken, City Manager. Ashley Coronado, City Clerk. Carrie Bagley, Finance Director. Joelle Lenders, Personnel Director. Matthew Gurney, Public Works Director. Logan Dodd, Operations Manager. Doug Taylor, City Planner. Alberti Chavez, Police Chief. Joe Estes, City Attorney. I didn't forget. I didn't
I
forget.
was gonna be able to leave.
No, you got a special introduction. There you go.
Well, there's space between.
There you go.
All right, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We have a pretty full house, and hopefully we have some people online also watching. For tonight's moment of silence, I just want us all to take a minute to think about the residents of Ukraine, of course, the devastation that's going on over there, and we just want to give them a thought and keep them in our prayers and in our hearts. So take a moment, please. All right, thank you, everybody. The Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the public. We have a sign up, but she's not here. So, Peyton? Okay. So we'll- She signed up earlier today.
At City Hall.
At City Hall. So we'll just move along. All right. So first order of general business will be accounts payable. Do I have a motion?
I move that we pay accounts payable in the amount of $230,311.53.
I'll second that. Do we have any questions on accounts payable tonight?
I do.
Okay, Mel, go ahead.
Page 10, I just want to know, it's maybe a regular payment, I would like an explanation. 3181, Cochise County Treasurer, household yard waste for $19,348.92.
That'll be our tipping fee, right?
I believe that is our tipping fee. That would be the fee we pay for dumping the garbage at the landfill.
Okay, so and for what period is this? Is this
1 month.
It's a monthly fee. Okay. All right. That's all I have today on this.
All righty, Joni.
Page 6, the continuing saga of grass and truck water.
Yeah, same answer as last month.
Would you enlighten me what was done there? That was last month.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
I
Matt.
can't remember.
Same answer from the same person.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've been still looking into this. We did have some vandalism during January with sprinkler heads and the toilets. So we believe that's part of it. We are keeping an eye on it. We are still watering, but it's at 50% once a day. And $178 of that is for the meter.
Right.
But yeah, so that's what it is.
It just seemed like it's,
Yeah, we're wanting to look at the past years and figure out if there's a trend or what's going on.
Thank you.
Anything else? Oh, Hannah?
On page 2, under personnel, we've got a $10,000 charge. And
Yes. The Okay, once a year, our insurance agency, provides us with $10,000 to spend on, health-related issues. And so, they have agreed to, give us a check for $10,000, and we spend the $10,000 on gift cards at Target. And the purpose of that is to give the gift cards to the employees, all of the employees, unless they turn them down. And they are to use those to buy health-related items. So for us, it's a pass-through,
Okay, thank you.
so.
Seeing nothing else, we have a motion and a second to approve accounts payable subject to funds, $230,311.53. Have a roll call.
Councilmember Giacomino,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Johns,
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to item 2, this is the approval of the consent agenda. We have items A through H. These include 2 approval of minutes. We have 1 resignation from the Bisbee Arts Commission. Looks like 3 special event liquor license applications for the Jonquil, and 2 more extension of premises for electric brewing. Anybody have anything they would like to pull and discuss? Seeing none, I'll move to approve the consent agenda items A through H.
Second?
I have a motion, a second to approve the consent agenda items A through H. All those, roll call please.
Councilmember Giacomino,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Johns,
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Aye, motion passes unanimously 5-0. Moving on to old business, we have 1 item, item number 3. This is discussion of possible approval of ordinance O-2202, amending the zoning code, Article 6, by establishing a new section 6.17 entitled accessory dwelling units. As you know, we think this is about the 3rd or 4th time, so
This year.
we'll let you give another quick scenario and we'll go on.
Okay.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, the goals of the proposed ordinance 02202 zoning code Article 6, Section 617 are to provide support for multi-generational households, encourage flexible housing options for seniors, provide supplemental income for homeowners, and increase the supply of affordable housing. I know you're aware of the content and changes made over the last couple of months, but I would like to state that this article, as approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission, was, I thought, pretty effective. Since, with your help, Mayor and Council, suggestions, changes, and feedback, I think it actually will ensure an even better chance that these goals will be met. And I think this is a really great article to help expand our affordable housing.
Thank you for that. Let me say quickly, I wasn't here at the last meeting, and I just wanted to give a big shout out to all involved in this. I think it's a good policy and a good way to move forward, help out our housing situation a bit. So I just want to thank everybody. I didn't get a chance to say anything last week, but yeah, with those changes, I'm quite happy with it. Any comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance 02202, amending the zoning code, Article 6, by establishing a new section 6.17 entitled accessory dwelling units.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance O-2202 by amending zoning code Article 6 by establishing a new section 6.17 titled accessory dwelling units. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Giacomino,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Johns,
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Aye, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And we will be moving on. This will be our new business. This will be a presentation by the Greater Cochise County Digital Jobs Accelerator Partnership. I'll turn it over to City Manager Pocken to introduce.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. Tonight, we have Mignon Hollis and John Charlie here, who represent the organization that's just now starting in Cochise County, and they would like us to become partners in their venture. And so I'm going to introduce Ms. Hollis to make a presentation.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. It's so nice to have you, to be in front of you this evening. I don't know if you've had a chance to look through the PowerPoint presentation, so I know you have a long agenda tonight, and I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but I really want to tell you about this great opportunity that we have and how it's come together. So John, Charlie, and I have been working together for many years on trying to figure out how we can further our economy and what we can do within Cochise County. And we knew that at some point we would be able to come together with a fantastic idea. So we're going after a USDA RISE grant in the amount of $1.2 million. And what we want to do with this grant is really create this digital jobs economy for Cochise County. And so we've given you a couple of examples in the beginning of what, on slides 1 and 2, really about what a digital economy is. Do you all have that PowerPoint presentation in front of you? Okay, great, great. Because I have a couple extra copies in case you don't have that. So I'm just going to do a quick example so that you can see what that is. So if you were looking at a small business, for example, the auto shop, and they have a website, that would be one thing. And we're happy for them, and we're glad, but we don't see that is really being in the digital economy. We want to be able to see is inside that shop, not only do they have a website, but you're able to take payments through your website, you're able to make appointments through the website, and you're able to communicate with your customers using digital economy. So that gives you just a framework, and it did take John and I a while to figure out where that niche would happen inside Cochise County. So if you start to look at the next slide, is just really looking at that we need more rural jobs. I think we all realize that we don't have enough jobs here in the county, and how do we get there? So we were looking at some of the data in the next couple slides that just shows you that we have that opportunity here in Cochise County to get there. That next slide then is really how we want to start, where phase 0 is and where our outcomes are. So phase 0 is where we're just really starting. Phase 1 is really that idea stage and pulling things together. And phase 2 is the launch stage, and then phase 3 growth, and then we look at our outcomes of actually creating jobs and wealth. And as John and I looked through this and working with Corey, which is the Center of Rural Innovation, we saw that in a lot of ways we were already at that phase 2, which is the launch stage, which means that we're ready to put in incubators, accelerators, and really start to do that hard work to get us to the jobs and wealth. And then we just have some more slides there that show you the future is digital and what people can actually be making for salaries in that area. One of the problems that we do face here in Cochise County is that we all know that we've had that consistent decline in population and employment since 2012, that we're looking at that shrinking demographic. We consistently have lost more jobs than all other comparable geographies. And so what we did is we did not just look at Cochise County. We did not just look at Bisbee or Douglas or Sierra Vista, but we looked at other comparable counties throughout the nation and made sure that there were similarities, so that we were actually comparing apples to apples instead of, looking at this rural community and then looking at an urban community. So we did a lot of comparisons on that, and this is how we got to these numbers, and all of this is backed by data. We also discovered that our labor force is less engaged, again, in comparison to other geographies and other regions. So what we really want to do on that next slide is really looking at enhancing the quality of life for our community by creating us a digital economy. And in 5 years, this is where we want to be. We want to have a K-12 bilingual tech program. We want to have a built-out mentor network program and a tech accelerator program. And we propose going around this in 3 different ways, through 3 different initiatives, by having lots of roundtables to begin with, where we're bringing industry partners, educational partners to the table, and saying, where are those gaps? John and I quickly realized, too, that there's so many silos that are built out, and there's not a true pipeline from one to another. And so we really want to have that supported pipeline, and we want to do this through education and lots of factors. And we saw that education, sorry about that. That education is really the key throughout all this. The other thing realize is that we really have significant assets in our region to grow this. So there's a lot of existing programming for a wide range of entrepreneurial activities already. We have Cochise College, we've partnered with University of Arizona Tech Park, and a lot of industry relations. Now, since we first created this PowerPoint presentation, John and I worked really hard to bring other partners to the table. So at the front of the presentation, you'll see that we have Chicanos por la Causa as one of our partners, but we also have University of Arizona Applied Science, the campus that is in Sierra Vista. We do have a lot of industry partners as well as the City of Douglas. The county has signed on to our MOU and done a letter of support. We also have a lot of the industries and a lot of faith-based organizations. There's also an organization called Perscolas, and they are based out of Dallas, but they do have a presence in Phoenix. And what they do is they do boot camps. And they serve the underserved and underrepresented, and they do boot camps to get them jobs and employment at the end. And so there'll be a boot camp for maybe 6 to 8 weeks, and then they have a certificate in coding or in cyber or in Microsoft Office, and then they place them into a job. And so how we've partnered with them is we want to be able to have that training, but additionally, if they don't want to go on and have a job outside of the area, we would love for them to stay here and start their own business, and that's why we see that accelerator, incubator part come into this. This next slide is probably our most proud slide, honestly, and it's to succeed that we need to engage the full diversity of our region. And so here you can see the groups that we're targeting. We're targeting persons with additional needs. We're targeting heavily the Douglas residents. We're targeting veterans, those that are below or at the poverty line. We find that oftentimes they don't have the resources that they need. Single parents, youth, young adults, seniors and retirees, formerly incarcerated, and then people of color, to include Hispanic communities and Black communities, and then undocumented residents. So we saw that there's resources for those that always have and have access to resources. We really wanted to focus our grant and our efforts around those underserved and underrepresented communities. So where we are now is we need partners signing on to this. And again, when we first did this, these were our initial partners, and this partner list has already grown. So the partners that help us with startups, and what we mean here are startup companies. My organization, Arizona Regional Economic Development Foundation, the Small Business Development Center, I'm sure you're all familiar with them through Cochise College, and then the Veterans Business Outreach Center. So all of these three organizations and more, but these were the ones to start with, they help the startup companies. Then we have our workforce partners, Premier Alliances, and you're familiar with the work they do. Perscolas, which I mentioned, they help build out the workforce, AZ at Work, and Goodwill Industries. And so those are some of our workforce partners. And then in community engagement, we have our faith-based organizations, we have the Hispanic Chamber, we have NAACP, and we have the Boys and Girls Club. And we've also added, with the Arts District, right? So we've also added the Art District on here, as well as our community engagement. So in year one, so this is a 4-year grant, so, and I know on the slide says over the next 5 years, because we were thinking outside, past the 4 years when the grant is over, but for those 5 years. In the first year, we really need to start doing those roundtables just to connect demand with the pipelines. And then it's the community design sessions to reduce any barriers inside communities. So we're looking at like wraparound services, and that's where, excuse me, your faith-based organizations may come in, because one of the things is, what if there's a child care that's lacking? Somebody wants to come in and start the training, but they don't have the child care. So the faith-based organizations and some of the other community organizations may step in and be able to help people do that. If there's, or food banks or anything else. So we're trying to eliminate all the barriers to entry for these underserved and underrepresented populations. We want to build a true entrepreneurship community through inclusive events, and then marketing and storytelling campaign to promote tech. One of the things that Chicanos por la Causa wants to do is start an I Am Tech campaign, because again, when we say tech, oftentimes we don't know what that means, right? If we're saying tech, we face that same thing when it first happened. We're like, well, we don't really understand what tech means. But when they told us that that was just, even if you're selling your artwork online, and there's, again, a website and a portal, you're actually in a digital economy. You're actually selling your art through a digital economy. And so we realized early on that we have to have a campaign to educate people on what tech is. And so Chicanos Puerto Casa has done lots of work in building out these kind of campaigns. So they will be doing that whole I Am Tech campaign. So again, then, when you're looking at the next year, years 2 and 3, where we're going to go is that's where we're going to start to have those coding boot camps, targeting support groups and mentorships, the tech grad job matchmaking, and internship programs. And again, a lot of our partners already have those. We just want to pull all of our resources together in one place that we're all working together and there's a set program. And then having those tech entrepreneur ideation and support events. And then pitch coaching nights and pitch nights with prizes, because again, we would do something where we're bringing it into a room. We might go to an organization and say, what is a challenge that you're having? For example, if you're looking at an animal shelter, how are you matching perhaps pets to people? And so somebody may come in and have an idea about how to do that. We might have an idea session that night and say, let's brainstorm how this would work. How could we write a software program, or how would this flow through? What would be our intake? What would be our outtake? How do we match those? How does that happen? And so we would host these kinds of events to come up with solutions, and then we would encourage that with a prize. So let's say, Mr. Mayor, you come up with a suggestion that the rest of us say that's amazing. You want to build that out. We form a group. We have prizes that have been donated by John's group to fund that. And so now we've created this pipeline, we've created something good for our community, and we've created jobs. So those are the types of events that we're looking to do. And then in later years, what we really want to make sure that we do is that we realize that full K through 12 and tech pipe, that whole startup pipeline, that we have created an entire pipeline and a pathway for our communities, which then include that K-12 bilingual after school and summer tech programs. And we've actually had a school already sign on and said that they would deliver that for us. Having tech startup mentor programs and networking events, and then of course our accelerator programs for opportunities for equity investment to scale. And again, that's through fundraising and from having investors come in and through those pitch nights where people are then investing in those companies. So then the next slide just tells a little bit more about how we're going to get there, design our public education pipeline, how we're going to target that, and then the financial support, which I just mentioned, for those entrepreneurs, which is that access to capital. So this is kind of where we are now, as we're going out to communities and to other partners, and we're sharing this presentation with our partners and our key stakeholders, and City of Bisbee is truly one of our key stakeholders. I've had the pleasure of working with your city manager over the years on lots of different projects that we've tried to bring into this area, specifically into Bisbee and what Bisbee needs, and having John's organization, Premier Alliances, right down the street, which is fantastic. And they have agreed to come on for their campus when we're doing a lot of these training events, is to be able to host them right onto their campus. So we're having those, we're informing people of what we're doing. We're starting to form our Rural Jobs Partnership for that RISE grant and garnering the letters of support, which is why we're here today. We would ask for your support on this, and then we also have just a general letter, memorandum of understanding that we'd ask you to sign on to. We are not asking any sort of financial contribution at this point. We want everyone to know what we're doing. And so a service that we may need, that we were talking about earlier, is we might just say, hey, some of the residents in Bisbee that are wanting to participate, one of their barriers to entry is transportation. So how do we work with the bus service for them to get from wherever they might be to Premier Alliances to take their training? There may be things like that where the city already has a resource, and we just want to formalize that we can make that call, and we can then actually capitalize those dollars and list those as in-kind. Again, not an out-of-pocket cost, because we know everyone is strapped for this, but this is really for the betterment of a community. And I'd be happy to take any questions that you might have. I know there's a lot of information in there, but I wanted to kind of get through that as your long agenda tonight.
Thank you for that. I do have a really quick, so this is a USDA grant.
It is a USDA RISE grant.
And you've already applied for it?
We are in the process of applying for it now. We've submitted our concept paper last Friday, and we should hear back just on the concept paper on the 4th. where they kind of say, yes, this is a great idea to move forward.
And you would know when you would be awarded a, is there a date?
So the grant is due April 15th. April 15th is when the grant is due.
Why not?
Yeah, why not have everything just due on April 15th?
Sorry.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so then after that, one of the things, Mr. Mayor, I'm glad that you brought this question up, is yes, we're trying to do this through the RISE grant, but as we've had conversations with our partners and with our faith-based organizations, they've said, hey, what happens even if we don't get this grant? Can we still move forward on this project? And I will tell you that our foundational partners, we're in complete agreement, because we've kind of figured out if we all support each other, there's no reason why we can't do that. And then we already have those formal documents together that we're going to work together to make this work.
Great, I'm glad to hear that. Comments?
Well, I was just saying that's great, anything that's gonna help the employment and give people more opportunities is a very good cause to be working on.
Great, thank you so much for that.
No?
Yeah, can you tell us of a similar project that you have done in the past and how successful you were? You said you had worked with the city manager before.
Yes.
Can you just give us an example? See
I
how?
sure can. So the project that we were working on, and unfortunately the building burned down, but that's a side note. A little bit about our organization. We currently have 3 incubators in Sierra Vista. We have an innovation center, which is in the Haymore Plaza. We have a business complex, which is on Bartow. And then we just now started Rural Care, which is an incubator around behavioral health. So we just got that grant through the state, and then that money flowed down to the county, and so we were awarded that. So we've worked on business accelerators and incubators before, so we have that experience. We do lots of other things. We run a test site out at Benson for their airport. What we were working on when Steve was the city manager before, right? It's been a while, the first time. We were looking at putting an incubator in your old space. You had a 3-story building. We had walked through that. We thought that was a perfect place to put an arts community in, and we were looking at putting an incubator in there. We got pretty far on the project. We had the space carved out. We knew where we were going to go, the direction of that. And so, unfortunately, that didn't come. Steve left, building burned, and here we are
It
again.
didn't burn because I left.
No, I'm sorry, did not mean to put those 2 sentences together, back to back. But we've had lots of successful projects like
And
this.
how many people were you able to help employ? Because sometimes you put the presentations.
I know. We've been very realistic with the numbers. Do you remember the numbers that we set for this, John?
No, but I think we should mention to the city council about Corey and how they have
Thank you.
17 examples of communities across the country that are doing this exact thing.
Yes, to what John said.
Yeah.
So we're working this through. So let me just back up a little bit. Corey is the Center for Rural Innovation, and so you'll see their logo on our presentation. We applied for a grant last year for them to help us build out an application. We knew the project that we wanted to do, and so we went to Corey. We got the grant for them to help us write this grant and pull data and information together. And like John said, they have helped 17 communities across the nation with similar projects. And so our project is rare in the fact of how we're doing it. The other projects have all been to building out a digital economy, but they haven't taken the focus of underserved and underrepresented. Our numbers are not, I think our numbers are quite reasonable. I want to say we looked at 300 to 500 in 1 year of jobs. And so we've broken that down to what that really looks like. We're very realistic in our numbers. I wouldn't come and tell you that we're going to create thousands and thousands of jobs, because that's not the reality of it. But we want to give people the skill set that they can get jobs, and that they can either start their own business or really create their own wealth and contribute to our economy in a different way.
Thank you.
And I don't have an exact number. I really wish I could give you a firm number and say this is what we're doing, but we're building out that paper.
We just, I just want, because the public, just when we come up with this program, with this beautiful presentation and all the numbers, we need to make sure that we're giving some realistic numbers and expectations.
Yes, and I so appreciate that. I so appreciate that. Yes, John and I, as we've worked through this too, we were very clear in saying how many trainings we thought we could do a year. You know, I was quite aggressive. I'm a little more aggressive. John's much more realistic. And so I was like, we could do 2 a month. How about we do 1 a month, Mignon, in different communities? So that's what's made our working together such a great partnership. And I will assure you that once we have our final concept paper, we're happy to share it with the council too, that you can see where our outcomes are and in what regions and why we're targeting those regions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's mainly for the underserved. So
Yes.
Don't forget.
Yes,
that's an
exactly.
important
Exactly.
part. Seeing nothing else, I'll gladly move to approve the MOU with the Greater Cochise County Digital Jobs Acceleration Partnership.
Second?
A motion and a second to approve the memorandum of understanding with the Greater Cochise County Digital Jobs Accelerator Partnership. Roll call.
Councilmember Giacomino,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Johns,
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so very much, and I'll come back and we'll give you updates on that. I really appreciate it. Thank
Great.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Forge ahead. All right, moving on, this will be item number 5. This is another presentation by Megan Conley for the EDA grant that's been submitted by Bisbee Bikeways. Mr. Paul, have any
Okay, I don't think anyone needs to introduce Megan Connolly because everybody knows her already, but we recently completed a very complicated EDA grant in which the city is the actual, what do we call it? We're the actual applicant. Bisbee Bikeways has done the large portion of the preparation of the document along with engineers and people everywhere. So now that that's been submitted, I asked Megan if she would come and give a brief presentation to council to let you know what it was that she prepared and when we can expect to hear any results from that application. So Megan, please go ahead.
Thank you everyone, and good evening. As Steve said, I'm Megan Connolly. I'm the project director of Bisbee Bikeways, but you all know me. I've been calling you for 3 years, some of you. So this grant is through the American Rescue Plan Act. It's the Travel, Tourism, and Outdoor Recreation Grant. And this is funded through the Economic Development Agency, which is part of the U.S. Department of Commerce. So Bisbee Bikeways is a project of the 501c3 Ecotopia. Just to give you a little background, our mission is to enhance the public health and sustainability of Cochise County. And just a little reminder, in July 2021, the council voted to move forward with option B of the Lavender Pit feasibility study and get funding. And in November of 2021, the council voted to enter into an MOU with Bisbee Bikeways to collaborate on implementing the Lavender Pit and the Bisbee Area Mobility Master Plan. So this project started in 2018 when I got a flat tire on my bike and I had to walk up the railroad tracks next to the old airport highway. And as I was going up these tracks, I thought, this would be a really cool shared use path. We need to turn it into a bike lane and a pedestrian area. So I approached Robert Kienzenar at Freeport, and he was very positive about it, and he connected me to the county and the health department, and from there I got the phone number of Bill Harmon, the ADOT district engineer, and I started calling him, and I started bugging him about a shared use path around the Lavender Pit, because if you talk to anyone in town, majority will say that's where we need safer pedestrian and biking access. So I've been working on this since then, and I went around town, the whole area, created a network of shared use paths. My goal was to, 1, reduce carbon emissions, and 2, get kids and residents outside and exercising, and 3, just to make it easier for people who don't have access to cars to get around. So This network will actually connect to the Sun Corridor Trail, which is supposed to extend from Las Vegas, Nevada to Douglas, Arizona. So this could be a very amazing recreational opportunity. It can also bring a lot of tourism to town. So back to the EDA on the next slide. So their mission is to lead the federal economic development agenda by promoting innovation and competitiveness. The EDA's ARPA Tourism Grant is designed to provide financial assistance to communities to rebuild and strengthen their travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation industry through various infrastructure and non-infrastructure projects. Projects in regions most adversely affected by damage to the travel, tourism, and outdoor recreation sectors from the coronavirus are a priority. So Bisbee falls into this category for several reasons. So for one thing, we're already economically disadvantaged. So we lost $200,000, as you guys know, in the general fund and highway uses fund because of population decrease, shown in the most recent census. Bisbee's current poverty rate is 27.1%, which is 1.4 times higher than Arizona's state average. Bisbee has a median income of $34,452, only 3/5 the amount of the state average, and 44% less than national median income of $79,900. Bisbee is only 40% employed. And the bed tax revenue, a key indicator of the tourist economy, was at a very all-time low in June of 2020 at only $1,480. So this makes us an area that has been most adversely affected by the coronavirus pandemic. So we qualify under several different categories, and that's one of them. So next slide. The application is to fund the final design and construction of the Lavender Pit pathway. So the total request is $4,514,000. The total budget is $4,572,000. So the city could not come up with a cash match, but they were able to come up with an in-kind contribution, and that was $12,028. Bisbee Bikeways will contribute an in-kind contribution of $4,636.24. And we took it upon ourselves to raise some money for this application because in order to make our application more competitive, we needed to show that there was financial backing. And so in a matter of 15 days, myself and 3 other volunteers, and with the help of numerous people, and contributions from our wonderful community, raised $41,335.67. So that shows that the community is behind this project. So that's another thing we have going for us for this application. So the budget includes inflation at 3.52% per year and contingency for unforeseen expenses. So we wanted to make sure that what we applied for would cover anything that we may not know would come up at this point. And then EDA grants are reimbursement grants. I'm sure you're all familiar with those. Most federal grants are. So the next slide is the cost estimates. And you may recall this from the feasibility study. Just to briefly give you a rundown, the preliminary engineering is $529,000. The total construction cost is the majority of the cost, so $3,349,000. Construction engineering, $331,000. Aesthetics, which could be potentially hiring locals to do murals on the Jersey barriers. That's $26,000. Change order contingency is for anything unforeseen that could come up that we just don't know about, $304,000. And then the miscellaneous is actually ADOT's charge, $33,000. That's just for the beginning of the project. That's just for the engineering portion. Then their fees for administering the construction are also included. And this is the boring part, the next slide. Just to give you an idea of all the things that will go into this process, from where we are now having a feasibility study to the final construction, and where the city is going to be giving the in-kind contribution, and where Bisbee Bikeways will be giving the in-kind contribution. There's several steps, and I'm just going to go through them really briefly. So the first is to execute the grant agreement, so that's between ADOT and the City of Bisbee. Then we will initiate an IGA between ADOT and the City of Bisbee. And then we will develop the scope of work, which is with ADOT, City of Bisbee, Bisbee Bikeways. We're going to put out an RFQ. That would actually be ADOT who does that, and that would be for a consultant who does the preliminary design. Or it shouldn't use the word preliminary. Like, we already have a preliminary design, it's the final design. And then review of submissions, that would be from ADOT. Contract negotiations with the consultant, also ADOT. The contract would be signed with ADOT. The project administration, that would include ADOT, Bisbee Bikeways, and the City of Bisbee. And then once the consultant is hired, they're going to start with a survey and then a scoping document that'll bring them to 15% design. Then on the next slide, we have public engagement round 1. We already did public engagement, and so, we came up with the preferred alternative through that feasibility study. These steps may not be necessary, but we wanted to put them in depending on how the design process goes. So public engagement round 1 would be with Bisbee Bikeways, ADOT, and the City of Bisbee, of course. And then the selected alternative with ADOT and the City of Bisbee. And then we would present to the City Council. And then stage 2, 30% design, would be the consultant, and with review by ADOT, the City, and Bisbee Bikeways. And then the environmental clearance would be done by the consultant and ADOT. Public engagement round 2 would be the consultant, Bisbee Bikeways, and the City. Then we get to stage 3, 60% design, which the consultant would do. And the review would be done by ADOT and the City and Bisbee Bikeways. And then we get to stage 4, which would bring us to 95% of the final design. That would be done by the consultant, again with review by the same entities. And then stage 5, 100% is also the same as stage 4. And then utility clearance, ADOT and the consultant would work on that. The right-of-way clearance would be ADOT and the consultant. And then ADOT would put out an advertisement for a construction company. And then they would start to work on the construction, and ADOT would administer the construction. And then grant administration would be with ADOT, the City of Bisbee, and Bisbee Bikeways. So that's the boring part, but figured you might want to know what all that money is going to be spent on. I have a really cool video that I was hoping I could show you, and the PowerPoint is not working. So I'm going to show you on this. This is showing the fundraiser that we put together. So we didn't have much time, and I asked for some help from Molly Herrico, Coriana Eastman, and Julia Whiteside. And Molly took the bull by the horn and created a concert fundraiser, and it was a great event. There was only 3 days of advertising, and a ton of people showed up. We had 5 bands. They all donated their tips to this project. And it was just the kind of thing that I remember when I was a kid in Bisbee, like just a really cool community event. So I'm just gonna play this for you. You get to hear some cool music tonight. Alright, well I think you get the gist from that. A lot of people were there and having a really good time. And so the EDA will fund up to 100% of the total request, but they prefer to fund 80%, so that's why we came up with this fundraiser. Again, the community really wants this. Like I said, a lot of people showed up for that. We received forms from 32 small businesses, which small businesses are one of the most important economic drivers in our town. This is going to bring a lot more foot traffic into town, because when people look at places to visit, if there are places to enjoy recreation, they're more likely to go and visit them. So within a matter of 15 days, we got forms from 32 small businesses who were interested in supporting this project, stating that 326 jobs could be created over 9 years. 185 jobs could be saved, and $5,482,000 could be generated in private investment. So that's based on a basic formula that we got from the USDA, which is that if there's more foot traffic coming into your shop, you're going to make more sales. Based on your sales, you're going to be able to hire more people. And then based on that, you'll also be able to invest in your business. So it's pretty simple. And when I sent the EDA representative the figure that we got from the fundraiser, she said, and I quote, I love hearing about the money you have raised for Match. It shows strong community support for the project. So I think we have a good chance, even though we could come up with 20% cash match. We do fall under the financially distressed category. So I really played that up in the grant. And we have a lot of support from the small businesses. And we should know, so the EDA representative is going to present this on March 7th, pretty soon. And then the committee will decide, and I'm not sure how long that process takes, but I was told that by the earliest it would be sometime in April. So that's not that far away, because they're trying to get all the funds out by September. So I just want to thank you all for your support, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Oh,
Go ahead. Yeah.
timeline. So,
Yeah.
if everything goes like you want, and you go into what you just read to us, the boring stuff as you said it, what is the estimated, rough estimate,
So-
from the start till you go to construct?
The 28 steps.
Right. So we're kind of overestimating the timeline, but about 4.25 years. Now, some of those steps are taken out. For instance, if we don't do the public engagement, because we've already kind of gone through that the engineer thought that that was a really conservative estimate. So it's possible it could be done in 3 years even. But we just wanted to make sure that, we were being conservative with that.
And then the actual construction estimation?
Well, that's for the total
Oh, that's
project.
the whole thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you,
Any
Frank.
other questions?
No, thank
A lot of
you.
work.
Job well done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So much.
That's fingers and toes crossed.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, thanks for your support.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to do some business now. No, I'm just kidding. Moving on to item number 6, this is discussion and possible approval of a contract of services with Peregrini Services for services for billing printing, okay, bill printing.
I didn't type that.
Go ahead, Carrie. Financial.
Mayor and Council, this is a contract for bill printing services. The Finance Department currently prints and mails approximately 2,300 bills per month at a cost of just under $1,000. This contract would save around $700 annually on expenses for supplies, postage, and labor. Outsourcing this process will also free up staff time and kind of the frustration that goes along with our bill printing process.
Plus, maybe a Xerox machine won't die on you in the middle of a billing.
Yeah, it's actually a large printer and it is starting to make some noises, so
Yeah,
it's
it's like the
on
wheels
its
come off.
last leg, yes.
Yeah. Questions, comments?
No, I would just say that's a good idea. It saves a lot of time for the staff. And equipment.
I'll entertain a motion then, sir.
I move to approve the contract for bill printing with Peregrine Services.
Second?
Motion and a second to approve printing services with Peregrine Services. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Giacomino,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Johns,
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Aye, motion passes unanimously 5-0. Moving on to item 7. This is presentation by our personnel director on some job description changes. Go ahead. Joe.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening I am bringing to you updates to the job descriptions for our Public Works Department. Just wanted to mention ahead of time that all of the departments and all of our job descriptions have been reviewed. Civil Service Commission, Employee Council, rather than bring over 100 to you, I think, at the same time, I'm breaking them up by department. And so this evening I have the job descriptions for the Public Works Department, in which we are addressing the salary portion of the job description. For one, to address the increased minimum wage, and also the plan for the future with Arizona minimum wage, which will be adjusted based on inflation and cost of living. So again, not having to update these regularly with the current minimum wage is one benefit. And then our other intention was to increase all of our full-time employees to a starting rate of $15 an hour. Currently in the entire city, I believe we have 12, maybe 13 employees that are full-time, making under $15 an hour. So there is going to be a fiscal impact, which I've included. However, I do think this is very important, not only to stay just competitive with local businesses and other municipalities, but also, to show the employees that while we can't do a lot, we're at least trying to, take into account what changes that are happening, especially for our full-time employees who also have benefits, retirement costs, things of that nature. So, and I'm open for any questions.
Well, you picked one of the biggest divisions to start with. So, go ahead.
I have a couple
Joe.
questions. The ones that you didn't raise up, your part-time, did you raise them at all, or are they just staying at minimum?
The part-time employees are, those positions will be staying at minimum.
So how do they compare to the surrounding areas for those specific jobs?
Unfortunately, with those part-time positions, I mean, historically, our positions for part-time have been at minimum wage.
So when you up these for $15 an hour, is there like an adjustment to, I don't know how to even ask this. So let's say they were making above minimum wage, 10% above minimum wage, and now everybody's getting adjusted to this 15. Are they just gonna get adjusted to the 15, or are they gonna get adjusted to the 10% like they were at above the other one? Does that make sense?
Yes, and at this time, we are looking at adjusting the ones that are currently below $15 an hour to 15. We are not entering into compression discussions, which is, I think, what you're leading to there, which is, yeah. And
So you're possibly then gonna have people with 10 years of experience getting the same as someone with 5 years experience.
I wouldn't say the same, but yes, unfortunately, that is compressing.
Yeah.
And that's just an unfortunate reality at this point.
Yeah.
Unless there's more money.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. One of the things that, that we have discussed among staff on this is, pretty much the fact that, you look at some of these, you look at the financial impact, for this, and you see the positions that are impacted by this, are positions that historically have been at the bottom of the pay scale in the city of Bisbee, and probably way underserved when you compare similar positions with other communities in Arizona. This only addresses the issue of minimum wage at this point for full-time benefited employees. We'll be continuing to look at wages across the board, making recommendations to you with the budget when we get to the budget discussions. We wanted to make a statement that $15 an hour is what we consider the minimum livable wage. And I struggle when I say that, because I know how much $15 an hour is for a full-time benefit employee. It's not a lot. But considering the economy that we're in, and considering where we are, and considering that some of our turnover tends to be in those areas that you see on that chart with the fiscal impact, I think we can hire and keep employees longer if we make a policy statement, which is kind of what you're doing here if you approve this, that all full-time benefited employees in the city will start at no less than $15 an hour moving forward. We'll deal with the rest of the wages with the budget.
Go ahead, Mel.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How do you expect to pay for this? Where is the money going to come from?
It's going to come from, well, let's see. It's going to come from sanitation, sewers, streets, and the general fund.
So then you expect to raise fees for those things? To make up for the
We're going to
difference.
look at that as part of the budget in a comprehensive way. This isn't the only consideration for those funds that we have to consider moving forward. I learned a long time ago that, and I think there's an old saying that goes something like, if you train your employees and you pay them well, they may not stay. But if you don't train your employees and you don't pay them well, they certainly will. And so, I mean, that's a bigger statement out there, which is to say that if we want to attract and retain at competitive wages in our workforce, then we have to make the statement. And I think that you've got a lot of moving parts in each of those individual budgets, and I believe, based on the performance of these these budgets so far in this fiscal year, and with the corresponding, reductions in cost that we've been trying to maintain through the years, with the new gas pumps, with what Carrie just proposed for you tonight. Okay, so it saves $1,000 a year, but it's 1/19 of this. And so, you attack, what you spend versus what you save a little bit at a time, and then when you get to the end of the year, you've done a good job.
Have you come up with a number, how much this will cost yet?
$19,860.
So the one that we're proposing tonight, not what may come later. with other
Yeah,
employees.
this is what we're proposing tonight.
Oh, tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, I'm glad to see, wages being addressed. And they certainly deserve increases, but I'm really, really concerned about compression and the animosity that is going to cause.
This will do very little, in terms of the overall issue of compression. And the issue of compression, how shall I say this? It's extremely, complicated. And so, we will be, working to, one of the things that your wage and salary, policy does, is it tries to address compression by giving people increases in wages based on the time that they've served the community, to move them away from someone who may have spent less time on the payroll. And as you know, through the years, a lot through the years, we've had a couple of things that have occurred. The 16 years that I'm familiar with, we have addressed compression issues in places where it needs to be considered, and we've also had years when we were not able to do anything for anybody. And we all remember 2008, 2009. Those were years we couldn't do anything. But yet in later years, we were able to make up for it by doing a little bit more for everybody. So there's a lot of different ways to tackle that, and believe me, I'm more than familiar with what you're talking about, Ms. Klein, because it ends up on my desk eventually anyway. And so dealing with it is going to be a matter of how we deal with the entire budget, and it will be based at least in part on what the starting pay is at each level, or for each position.
And just in support what you say, I see this in the private sector as well. And I can tell you just to the compression issue. In a restaurant, for example, you have a dishwasher that's making 15 and the chef is making 15.50, and that's faced in the entire economy now. We're facing compression. So it's not just for us, and like Steve said, you just have to look at it and be realistic. And I understand what you guys saying. And I see it, I talk to people in the retail business, in the private sector, and we're facing this issue. And that's the way, you have to make the best.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I don't want to get too far out ahead of the budget.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm feeling relatively confident with, you've all seen the financial statement for January. Pretty soon you'll be getting the financial statement for February. Our performance in each of the major funds has outperformed a little bit what our expectations were when we adopted that budget back in June.
Except one.
And except one, and well, there's always except one. But I feel confident that when we get started, and for us getting started, it starts next week. When we start looking at what we've got, both in recommended revenues and expenditures in all the funds across the board. So we will, and as I think everybody here has already done once at least before, we'll be scheduling budget meetings with you in May, with a, oh, Bell, I guess you probably weren't here last night, were you?
No.
And that's everyone's opportunity to look at every page and every line, and discuss everything, that they need to discuss, before we put the budget in its, final form so that you can pass the budget on the two expected dates in May and June, that you're required by law to do. So this is a process that pretty much moves for the whole first half of the year.
How many employees does this encompass, these changes? Can you just rough it?
Just the Public Works Department?
Yeah, under all these job descriptions.
We only have currently 7 employees that will be affected by this.
So, but overall, there's more than that in the public works arena. But the seven is the 19,000 then?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Yes. The other employees in the Public Works Department are either at or above $15 an hour.
Just
That's what I was
one,
wondering.
does the 19,000 includes the benefits or just that's the basic salary?
That is just looking at salary.
That's your base pay.
But everything else, there'll be some additional expense with that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
EREs.
EREs.
Just as a reminder for council, the budget sessions are scheduled to start on April 25th through the 28th, so make that on the calendar.
Is that what we scheduled?
I like those dates. All right. Any other questions, comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the updates to the job descriptions for Public Works Department.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the updated job descriptions for the Public Works Department. Roll call.
Councilmember Giacomino, Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Johns,
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Budd.
Aye, motion passes unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. This will be item number 8 for our Public Works Director. Approval to purchase some more fog seal. We need some fog in our lives. Go ahead, Matthew.
So we're asking to purchase 3,000 gallons of fog seal from Western Emulsions, which comes out to $5,889.80. We did this last year, but last year we had a tanker come down with about 6,000 gallons, and it was a little too much for our guys. They were able to do it, but we want to do it where we can, focus on quality and not just trying to hurry and get stuff done. So this is what we're asking for, to continue maintaining the streets that have either not been paved yet or have been paved, and we're trying to maintain those.
Thank you. Do you have to keep this warm? Is that or not?
Yes,
That's
yes.
why
The truck that
Yeah.
that we bought, it keeps it hot and it heats it up. So if we do it one day, we can come out the next morning, heat it up, turn it on, and it heats it back up.
Questions, comments?
So is that what all the black weird stuff on the road is for? Is it prepping for the fog seal?
Where
Like on my street, it looks like you guys went in there with graffiti. I mean, it's obviously a different reason. It sounds like the holes and cracks and that's something else.
I'm not sure what that is.
There's a little bit-
No, we're not prepping for this yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That was.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think what you've been seeing is we've been doing some skin patching and some.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
Okay.
Pothole filling, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I just thought maybe it was their prepping or something.
Yeah, we do have a small tackle trailer that we use for potholes and stuff like that. So.
Thank
Sorry.
Spring, fill the hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, fill the holes. Any other questions? I'll make a motion to, move to approve the purchase of fog seal from Western Emulsions, Inc.
Second.
This will be motion and a second to approve $5,889.80 to purchase fog seal from Western Emulsions. Roll call.
Councilmember Giacomino,
Aye.
Councilmember Davis,
Aye.
Councilmember Johns,
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein,
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And we're still with Matt, and this will be a present, tell us about the garbage trucks and the dumpsters, and then you can introduce our guests.
Yes, good evening. Everybody knows we have our garbage trucks that we are trying to retire. Because we purchased 2 new garbage trucks. So now we have 2 of the older, larger garbage trucks that we've used since 2002 and 2008. Well, actually 2002 and 1995. And then we also have a 2006 that was used for the Old Bisbee route. It has many hours of use up and down Old Bisbee. Those vehicles are of no longer use to the Public Works Department. That they had been approved, I think in 2021 to put to auction. We have been approached by the mayor of Naco Sonora, acquiring for them for a donation, and also for the dumpsters that go with the larger trucks. We have roughly about 600 dumpsters that we've pulled out from the neighborhoods from doing the blue trash cans that we just have been doing. So we have the 3 garbage trucks and 600 trash cans, or dumpsters, excuse me, that they're asking to the city of Bisbee to donate. If you want to have the mayor come up or to speak.
No.
No? Okay. Okay, we have a problem with the translator in here, and I can try to translate for you, the mayor of Naco.
Yes.
Okay.
Muchas gracias. Primeramente, pues estoy muy agradecido con esta invitación que nos hacen aquí los miembros del Cabildo.
First, I appreciate the invitation for the council members and the mayor and the city manager, and the thanks for the director of public works.
Bueno, esta es mi 4ª alcaldía.
This is my 4th time mayor of Naco.
Y bueno, desde hace mucho tiempo hemos estado batallando, sobre todo con las unidades que son las que nos mantienen en el trabajo diario en la ciudad.
For a long time, we have a problem with the
trash.
The trash in the city and the trucks with the trash. It's a problem health in Naco, and we need new ones, but our budget is too low for buy or new ones.
El tema de la basura siempre ahí en Naco ha sido muy problemático. Le enseñamos al mayor en días pasados unas fotografías, igual aquí a Matthew, City Manager, donde ellos mismos constataron que es una problemática muy grande porque los contenedores están normalmente la basura saliéndose, pero también en malas condiciones. No tenemos contenedores.
Okay. Time ago, we have a meeting with the mayor and the city manager and the public works director, and we saw pictures from the garbage and the city and the neighborhood. It's out of the containers because our containers is bad.
Estamos trabajando mucho por nuestro medio ambiente para que Naco esté limpio. Somos pues prácticamente ciudades hermanas entre Naco Sonora, Naco Arizona y por supuesto Bisbee, y estamos luchando mucho para que nuestro medio ambiente sea el mejor. Estamos trabajando con otros proyectos también, donde nosotros pondremos mucho de nuestra parte, pero sí necesitamos mucho su apoyo para poder adquirir estos contenedores, estos camiones, y con eso creemos que vamos a avanzar muchísimo en este tema.
Okay, because the series, our series is a sister series. We work for the environment because it is a plan for everything. And we appreciate you apportation or donation these trucks and dumpsters because it's and good for the city, the both city and the citizens.
Pues no me quiero extender más, solo agradecerles mucho esta invitación y ponernos a sus órdenes, y pues si una vez nos vemos favorecidos con este gran apoyo, ustedes serán parte de esa historia que ayudó a cambiar nuestro municipio.
Okay, and we have appreciate your invitation, and if we have the donation, you're gonna be a part of the history for the NACO. Thank you.
So I want to also add to that, they showed us different pictures of how they're picking it up now. It is a health hazard for those people that are picking them up. I know exactly how that is, because I mean, earlier in January of last year, we were kind of in that same situation. So we were our guys were out picking up by hand during COVID and everything. So it is something that they're having to deal with it as well. So
You might make quick mention of what trucks we are giving them and the shape, but we're not,
yes,
the one doesn't even make it up a hill, so, but they're willing to work on them themselves, so just so you know. They know what they're getting, but they're still.
Yes, we have talked to them. I'll do this. I'm too tall for that. We explained, the condition of the trucks. The two bigger ones are in not good shape. The 1995, we used to call in sanitation. I used to drive it myself, called the Death Trap. That's what we called it. And then this last one, we've been using since 2002, and it has been going and going, and it's now having a hard time just climbing up the road, going up by the fire station. They're in bad shape. But if this is something that we can be a benefit to another sister city in Naco Sonora, I think from Public Works standpoint, I think it would be a good thing.
And Mr. Mayor, just to add a little bit to what Matt was saying, those two bigger trucks have been around longer than I have, and you see what kind of shape I'm in. But we did bring that up in our conversation when these folks came over to visit with us a few weeks ago, and they assured us that they have the talent available that can actually fix those trucks. So. We might want to consider having a contract with them to do some work for us on our newer vehicles too at some point. So anyway, I believe this is something that we have something that is of little or no value to the city any longer. We've got all those metal dumpsters that we can't use anymore because of the change in the technology of dumping waste, and the only value they could possibly be to us moving forward would be a scrap metal. So if they could be put to good use, improving the health conditions in our neighboring city across the border, I think that's in everyone's best interest. And so staff highly recommends that we donate this equipment to our sister city of Naco Sonora.
I just wanted to make sure that the public understood they didn't think we could bring the dumpsters back and use the trucks again for some reason. It just is not in our frame of mind. But just wanted to read. Oh, Mel, sorry.
I don't want to sound heartless here, but scrap metal has a lot of value these days. And I don't know about the situation in Naco. I don't know about the financial situation. I mean, we need to think about this. Could we have sold those and get some money for the city? Because we are not in the best shape. We have debt that we have to pay. And that's a government. We're not donating to an organization that it need. That's a city in other place, and I'm sure they have resources. So when you say it doesn't have value, nowadays metal does have value. So if we could have sold them, we'll sell them to the city of Naco, as a matter of fact, rather than give them away. We're not in this position to be donating these trucks, I think, and this is my opinion. I think we should have thought about this. We should have discussed it and see where we could have gotten some funds for this. This is about that. Unless you have something that convinces me that, oh, this is the best thing we could have done with this, then I'm against it.
And tonight is this is the time for that discussion.
Yeah.
What I will say, Mel, and I thought about this the same way. One, the scrap metal, there would have to be, it would take hours for us to cut them up and then haul them someplace. Maybe they would come and do it.
Someone will come and do it.
Well, we checked and that's not a, they like cars that crush and have a lot of stuff. But I mean, I'm sure there's money there. I don't know about time. To me, it came down to this. It's some things you do because it's right. Some things you do because it's, financial only. And I think as a sister city, and the goodwill that it will bring along with it, that we as a city can afford this for the few $1,000s we might make off of the scrap metal. The trucks are really worthless. I mean, nobody will even buy them in the U.S. because they'll never get used. We donated a used ambulance across the line the same way because it really wouldn't meet codes and it wouldn't make us bring us anything. So I just think the goodwill buys us goes a long way.
I would agree.
I don't have an issue with goodwill and donating.
Yeah.
My issue here is we donating to another government agency or city, and I think if we're doing it to help an organization of need, I wouldn't mind. But like I said, it's something we should have investigated. And to be honest with you, I don't know what the due diligence. How are they gonna use it? How are they gonna account for it? Are they gonna? I have issue with just dealing at this level and donating this kind. That does have value. I mean, the city, we have need here. We can pay forward for the city here at Bisbee. We can sell it. I'm sure if somebody work a little hard, I think we can get some money for this. This is my opinion. This is what I think, and we'll go from here.
Well, I would agree with the mayor. I mean, the resources they have in Naco, Sonora are minimal. I mean, you can say it's another government and all that, but it's another world, and it's a world that's on a different financial level than we are. And for the amount of money that we could get and for the goodwill, I think it's a great idea to donate this stuff. And they have the ingenuity to repair these trucks and make it work again. They'll make it work.
Anna.
So this question is for Carrie. Can we get tax credits by the donation? No?
No, it's outside.
Since we don't pay taxes, we can't get that tax credits.
Oh. Never mind.
We pay sales tax, that's not what we pay.
Yeah, but there's no tax credits for sales tax.
Yeah, I know. These are taxes. Yeah, I know. Anyone else? Well, I'll entertain a motion.
I would move to approve to donate 3 garbage trucks and 600 dumpsters to the city municipality of Naco, Sonora, Mexico.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second to donate the 3 garbage trucks and the extra dumpsters to Naco, Sonora. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Giacomino?
Nay.
Councilmember Davis?
Aye.
Councilmember Johns?
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet?
Nay.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein?
Aye.
Mayor Budge?
Aye. Motion passes 4-2. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
We're moving on to item number 10. This would be discussion of possible approval of the purchase agreement for the Hillcrest property. Let's take a moment here and we'll let Joe here take the reins.
All right.
Go ahead.
Mayor and council, maybe Steve would like to take this one and share the glory, because we're not buying anything, we're actually selling something and getting some revenue.
Getting the money out. So,
Thank you, Joe, you're too kind, and good evening again, everyone. Let me just say, this is something I have never done before. And I've been in local government now for 38 years. And this is not just selling a piece of property. This is helping to solve a very large problem that Bisbee has and a lot of small communities have in rural America, and particularly in Arizona. We have taken a piece of property that was of minimal benefit to anyone, whether it would be tenants or the community, or the previous owners or anybody else, and we've taken that building and we've cleaned it out. Back taxes have been paid, and most importantly for us, the sewer and garbage bill was paid to the tune of $90,000. And the title was straightened out, and somehow we managed to be able to, in a friendly way, acquire the building. When we first thought that might be a little bit more of a challenge to purchase the building from the previous owner, Joe Estes was able to negotiate with the previous owners a friendly buyout on the building. And of course, as you're all aware, and many of you have visited the property is particularly well suited for solving a problem in the low and moderate income brackets for people who need rental units. Due to our partnership and our membership in Seago, we had the opportunity to work with the staff at Seago, particularly with Melissa Hartman, who I believe you all know, and is here tonight. She could lend us the benefit of her past experience working in the city of Tucson on similar projects. And so one of the groups that she brought to us was the La Frontera group, and La Frontera specializes in taking these types of projects on and renovating buildings and turning them into productive low and moderate income facilities. So also tonight with us here is Mr. Joe Tarver, sitting next to Melissa. Joe is the attorney for the La Frontera group. And also, I think, is Dan on tonight, Dan Ranieri, who is the CEO of La Frontera Group. And he can't really communicate well with us tonight. He's basically on speakerphone because we couldn't make that other connection that we wanted to make. If you would like, Joe Estes, that is, can take you through the agreement that we have negotiated with the buyer. This is a case where we're the seller, the money actually comes this direction, instead of us having to put the money in the opposite direction. And all I'll say about that is that we used a competent appraiser who does projects of this type throughout southern Arizona and has done appraisal work for La Frontera Group in the past. So that was the reason we chose that company. The second reason was because they could actually do the appraisal in less than 6 months. And so the appraised value of the property is a solid $600,000, and that also happens to be what the offered price was for the project. And So the two Joes were able to negotiate the terms of the agreement that is before you tonight. And unless, I don't know if you want to go through that brain damage or not, but if you do, Joe will be happy to help you. But what we would like to do tonight is approve an agreement to purchase the property at 1 Hillcrest Drive and take all acts that are necessary to do so. And I think this is a project that will be of a lot of long-term benefit to our community in the face of the challenges that we have, both for rental space and for housing units in Bisbee for workforce level people. So, like I said, we just staff heartily approves the recommendation to purchase or to sell property. Joe.
Mayor and council, and if I may, I want to go through this agreement line by line with you in detail. Just so you can appreciate.
Only if there's a PowerPoint.
There's gonna be another PowerPoint too. Shouldn't take more than an hour and a half. Tops.
That whatever money we make, we'll have to give it to you for the time. Let us save that money. Let us save that money, yeah. We've already given them enough tonight.
Just to point out a few things, this is a little different than just a standard sale because they are purchasing this as specifically for a low-income housing project that involves tax credits. So there are other federal and state agencies that are involved that La Frontera works with, that they've done these types of projects before in the past. So just so you know, there are a number of steps. La Frontera is very confident that this project is a good solid fit to the point where they've expended a substantial amount of money and resources already in doing the due diligence and things ahead of time so that they can meet these deadlines and get this project going. So with that, I've provided the key details in the council communication. Are there any questions?
Go ahead, Joan.
I don't know if I can ask this, though, if I can't, cut me off, I'm sure. It says low-income housing, is that specifically Section 8, or is that a mixture of low-income and, I don't want to say regular, because there's no such thing as regular anymore in this housing market.
Yeah. Joe could probably address that better because he deals specifically.
Okay.
Can I get you to use the mic?
Yes, I'll go around.
Okay.
Mayor and council, thank you for having us here, and I'm more than happy to answer any and all questions. If I can give a little bit of background about La Frontera, and then I'll address your question specifically. The La Frontera, Arizona family of organizations is one of the largest providers of mental health care services in central and southern Arizona. It's a group of several 501c3 tax-exempt nonprofit corporations. It was started in Tucson. There's also a large presence in Phoenix Metro, and in October of 2019, La Frontera took over running Southeastern Arizona Behavioral Health Services, known as CBIS, which of course is active in Cochise County, Santa Cruz County, and Graham County primarily. Being one of the largest providers of low-income mental health care services, the very first thing that you notice is the dire need of housing for low-income people, especially people with mental health issues. And that is what led La Frontera into the area of affordable housing. And over the last 20 years or so, we've done a couple of HUD Section 811 housing projects for seriously mentally ill people. CBIS actually has 63 seriously mentally ill people housed in Cochise County. Among the types of housing that we've done is, as Mr. Estes mentioned, low-income housing tax credit projects. They're very highly regulated. The awards are made pursuant to what's called a Qualified Allocation Plan, or QAP, through the Arizona Department of Housing. And we are required to file an application, anyone wanting to get tax credits that must comply with that QAP. A part of the QAP dictates to us what the mix of affordable housing has to be. And in this particular case, the QAP requires that the average area median income be 50%. And so that means you could have 40% or 60%. What we are proposing is to have all of the units at 50% of AMI, as we call it. And by the way, at least right now, the plan is to create 33 units. 7 would be 3-bedroom, 12 would be 1-bedroom, and 14 would be studios.
Answer your question?
Kind of sort of, not really something.
Well, can I, please?
Just the definition, I guess, you know, because you have section A,
well, that's
and then you have middle, you just told me what it was.
Okay, I will. The low-income housing tax credits really are for low income.
Right.
And when I say 50% of AMI, or area median income, for Cochise County, that would be for one person, $22,000. For a household of 2 people, $25,150, and then it goes on up to a household of 8 persons at $41,450.
I think where I'm having my difficulty is understanding, I guess, is, to me, low income are bartenders, or waitresses, and that's not necessarily Section 8. Section 8 to me is completely subsidized by the government, that's just my understanding. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, these are not Section 8.
Yeah, okay, because that's, to be honest, that's my ward, and that area,
Right.
I've had a lot of concern because of them thinking, that mentality of Section 8, because when you say Section 8, you know, it conjures up a specific, clientele, I guess, not the better term.
Right, and by the way, in these types of, there are 2 kinds of Section 8 vouchers. One is the individual voucher, where a person or a family goes down to the local housing office and applies. The other is what is called project-based Section 8 vouchers. And in the projects in which we use Section 8 vouchers, it's always project-based vouchers, so that we have control over the vouchers, we have control over the application process, the screening of the tenants, and that sort of thing. So it's a little bit more manageable than just individual Section 8 vouchers.
Right. I guess, to put it, I guess more clearly too, they would like, in the neighborhood wants to see it as a rental for, you know, all different levels
Right.
of people, not, you know, not necessarily just, and I think that's kind of a thing that's gotten out there, that it's only gonna be, you know, this certain level of people, where we have all levels of people that need housing, and that's, you know, what was the concern, are we not gonna open it to everybody? Go ahead,
May I elaborate
Sure,
just a little
please
bit?
do, yeah.
So let's talk about Section 8 in our county. There are 400, I'm Melissa, by the way. Thank you. You know, there's about 465 vouchers available for Section 8. And just to draw a comparison, let me tell you, there are 1,200 people on the waiting list. And we've verified those numbers. So when you talk about so people that very well could be on the waiting list are going to be income eligible to go into here. So it works in the 2 ways. It serves the cook or the server, and it also should help assist a few people that have been waiting for Section 8, and it's something that's affordable for them. They can still wait for their Section 8. So I'm understanding what you're asking. No, specifically that Section 8 won't be in there, but I still think we're going to help some of those 1,200 on the list.
It's not that, and I guess I'm trying to make it so it's not sounding, you know, Section 8. It's nothing against that. It's just there's so much more of a desire to have mixed income establishments because of the track record. They're more successful, and you have a tendency for everyone to benefit in a mixed income, I guess. Does that make sense?
It does make,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. It does make sense, and that is one of the main reasons that we chose to utilize a low-income housing tax credit, because you had a little bit more flexibility. 50% of the median income is still very, very generous. So I believe that you will get the mix of tenants that we're looking for.
Good, it just, and like I said, there's just such a need just across the board in this.
Absolutely.
Well, and we could have the same philosophical discussion about this that we could have about healthcare.
Yep.
You know, people have a lot of money, get really good healthcare. People who have no money get healthcare. The people in the middle are the ones who may pay for it. I think that there's a great need in this country for middle-income housing. It just so happens that this particular project, because of the nature of the allocation process, is only for the low-income people. And it is possible in some contexts to have mixed income projects, but it's extremely difficult, and it's hard to get people in the private sector to build units and rent them at this level, especially at least in the metropolitan areas. I'm not that familiar with how it is down here in Tucson. They're building luxury apartments, and it's just adding to the issue of middle income housing.
I might say, if you look at their track record and what the units they have now, you will see that it's don't have quite that same cloud that people seem to have over tenant.
Well, and I might add that La Frontera, as its affordable housing process has grown, as our projects have become more and more numerous, we've taken property management in-house. We have our own property managers, and because La Frontera started out and still is a services-oriented company, one of the things we bring to Rickle that other developers don't bring is that supportive services element. So if somebody's having a problem, we don't send them a 10-day notice and kick them out. We send a supportive services team in to try to see if we can help the person. We even have a whole division that will go in and find if they can't make the payment or they've lost their job, they'll go in and supplement the property management, and that's our mission in our philosophy.
That was my other question. Is there gonna be on-site property management, or is it just gonna be someone who's a property management person that comes by, and how does that work with you guys?
We usually have, for this particular project, there's not it's not large enough for an apartment to be dedicated or devoted to a manager. But we will have an on-site presence. That's very, very important. And I might add, we made a commitment to southeastern Arizona, and we made a commitment to affordable housing in southeastern Arizona. And so I would like to hope that the number of apartments that we're managing in southeastern Arizona will grow and grow and grow, which obviously creates economies of scale for management. As it is now, I'll mention we're working on a 10-unit affordable housing project in Benson. We're opening up a 47-bed substance abuse facility in Sierra Vista. We're also working on a 30-bed transitional living facility in Benson. So we're going all in for southeastern Arizona.
So these units are all in the main building at this time?
Well,
Is that right?
the way that the planning and the architectural thinking and that sort of stuff has evolved, what we're doing is building two 3-bedroom units, or we would, assuming that you approve the contract and we get the award, we would build 2 3-bedroom units in the small building, 1 on each floor. That's how we get to 33.
Yeah.
Anna, then I'll go. Go ahead, Anna.
I like the idea of mixed income housing. What I'm concerned about is, will we have assurances that our residents will be able to move into these as opposed to maybe somebody who's been on a waiting list in Tucson? And then you say, oh, well, we have an opening in Bisbee, so go down there. Will we have assurances that it will be for our residents?
Our mission is to provide housing for Bisbee. I mean, what has been presented to us is a situation in which people with lower paying jobs have to commute in from the other Cochise County communities. And that was really Seago's pitch to us. And that is certainly our intent.
Yeah, that's my concern there.
Yeah. And in fact, one of the things that we have to do as a part of the application process is to do a market study. And we had some interesting conversations with Steve and with the people at Seago about, well, the first thing they said was, well, but they can't live in Bisbee. How do you do a market study when they're not living in Bisbee? And so we said to the consultant, you gotta take a bigger view of this. Where are the people the lower income people who work in Bisbee, where do they live right now? They live in Douglas, do they live in Sierra Vista, they live in Wilka, where do they live? So the market study actually is meant to encompass people who are commuting, who, if this project turns out the way they want it to, won't have to commute. So that's certainly our intent. I understand completely what you're saying.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Going back to the QAP, I read it a couple of years ago, and I know and I know it's changed.
Yes.
But is there anything that's going to come up with that? The way I want to phrase it is that we're going to have to deal with down the road. Like, I know they like it to be close to an ER and on a bus line and near a grocery store and things like that. Is there anywhere that the Hillcrest is falling short that we're gonna have to, like, it looks good? All right.
That's a very good question, and rural projects are, by the way, the QAP is scored. You get so many points for this, so many points for that. You get points for the experience of the developer. We score very highly on that. And rural projects are scored differently because of those very things. And we are fairly confident that this project is going to score very well. And we don't go into these things blindly. We've spent time speaking with the people at the Department of Housing. If they're not going to support a project like this, we're not going to waste our time, and you shouldn't be wasting your time. But the Arizona Department of Housing, under its current leadership, which we really like, is very, very devoted to rural affordable housing. So anything like that will be caught up front and cause the application to be denied. We think that we score really, really well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Melissa.
Go ahead.
I just want to answer a little more specifically, if you don't mind, to Hillcrest. So, grocery store needed to be within 6.5 miles. It was 5.1 miles. Bus stop, we're even talking about getting a bus stop. It is within the right range, and we consider having one come up the hill. Hospital and emergency facilities. So just to piggyback on what Joe's saying, in that scoring mechanism, and you look at all that before you submit, Hillcrest was in good shape. I was a little concerned about the grocery store issue and all of that. Nope, we're good. So if that helps you. And good for you for reading a QAP.
Yeah, we were looking at a project in Marana, and the Tucson bus line used to run up to Marana. It doesn't run up there anymore. So it's like, well, so much for that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's a very good question.
Go ahead, Mel.
Okay. Johnny, thank you for the questions you asked. This is some of the question, and I'm concerned about this. I'm just listening to the history, to the your experience. It looks like most of it's focused on transition, on assisted living. We have the biggest issue we have here in Bisbee. I'm a business owner, so I deal with a lot of people that do work service oriented. And that's the biggest issue we're facing now with people who cannot afford a house. Most of them had to leave, literally had to leave Bisbee not because they didn't have a job, they have a job. And what this is causing us in Bisbee right now, it's hurting the business. We'll have a couple of businesses they cannot open because we don't have employees. And not because we don't have people who don't want to work. It's just they can't have a place to live. But I'm concerned still about the answers. I have to be honest with you. It hasn't been clear about how you're gonna allocate for the service for the everyday person that goes to work and for the assisted housing situation.
Well,
and what kind of rent are you looking at? I think you probably have done your budget, you have done your analysis for you. What do you expect? And just so you can answer them all at once. And you said you're doing a 3-bedroom apartment. Who's going to rent this and how much are you going to charge for this? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, just to clarify a little bit, transitional living is a very, very small part of it, and really that's more in the mental health care area, not the housing area. And we don't do assisted living, we provide supportive services to residents. So although I will say we do have several apartment complexes, projects that are for adults 55 and older. And right, yeah, sign it.
Okay.
And in terms of the process, we have, by the way, we have to have specialists who work on compliance of the qualifications of a person to be, to be a tenant. One is income, one is family size, and so there's a process where you go through the screening, but it's driven by people applying and us advertising for people to come and apply for the affordable housing. In Tucson, as to the 3-bedroom apartment question, in Tucson, we found that there's a very large need for 3 bedrooms. And because you have a lot of families with 3 kids, 4 kids. The other aspect of that is that it's being dictated to us. We have to have at least 20% of the units be 3 bedroom under the QAP. So we have 7, which is I think 21%, something like that.
And the rent, how much you thinking of is going to be charging?
The rent, I think the rent is on a sliding scale, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Melissa, but at the 50% AMI level, I think that people are required to pay 30% of their income as rent, and the rest is subsidized.
Right, 30% of their income.
And I'm talking about the everyday person. I'm not talking about the housing, the assisted housing, you know.
And we're on the same page
Okay.
here. This whole process came about for exactly the reasons that you're talking about, that the guy that cleans the dishes and serves your food has to live outside of town. And that is the whole reason that a project like this, and when you look at their wages, and we've done quite a bit of that research, they're gonna fit in that 50% or below income. So they're gonna be able to now rent a brand new beautiful apartment and only spend 30% of their income. And that's just a better way to live, and that's more or less.
You don't have to apply, you have to go through the process.
No different than any other apartment complex. That's not. It's less invasive than doing a Section 8 application. Let me tell you that. Let me address the issue of the 3-bedroom apartments too. I have met with the architects in La Frontera, and so has Mr. Cocken over the months. And the more data we accumulated is how we came up with the configuration. 3-bedroom apartments for, let's just say, some single mom with a couple of kids are practically non-existent in this community. And that mom may work and all of those things. So we pushed for them to do some 3-bedroom units. Aside from the fact that it's in the low-income housing plan, that wasn't our plan to begin with. It was to fit the needs and the niches of the people that live right here.
Need housing.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that help?
It helps, but you still did not tell me, so the lady that's working in the restaurant and making $15 an hour,
She will qualify.
She will qualify?
Yes.
So the 3-bedroom, how much is gonna be the charge for 3-bedroom? And if she gets 30% paid by, assisted, 30%, so she has to pay 70%.
No.
No, 30%.
She's charged 30.
No.
She will just be charged 30%.
30%, correct.
Let's just run a scenario. Let's say.
Joe, can I answer the question?
Yeah.
Please.
Oh, he's listening.
I'm getting confused listening. This is Darren Airy. The 30% only applies when you have a Section 8 voucher. These do not have Section 8 vouchers. So the rents there's 14 studios, the rents will be about $490 a month. That includes water, sewer, and trash. The tenant pays electric.
Thank you. That's what I want to hear.
For the 12 one-bedrooms, the rent would be $525. For the 7 3-bedrooms, the rent would be $736.
Thank you. Thank you. That's what I wanted to hear. Because Section 8 is different. And I know what I was asking.
Yeah, I apologize for the.
Yeah, I know what I was asking, and thank you, sir, for answering. Thank you.
That's La Frontera's director.
Yeah, he's good. He's a businessman.
Yeah, that's where I was kind of confused on that, when you said the sliding scale. Because I was like, okay, how it is like a rubric, you follow this, but that makes sense now.
Yeah, now it makes a lot of sense.
And that, go ahead.
Can I add one more piece to this?
Go ahead.
So originally the plan was to do roughly 60 units, but the cost, when we had the assessment done, the cost to do it all at once was more than the tax credits would fund. So we're going to phase this. The first phase will be the 2 existing buildings, which will be 33 units. Then next year, if we win this, the next year we're going to go in again and apply for a second tax credit of new construction to build additional units on the periphery. We don't know exactly how many yet, somewhere between 20 and 30 units, I would suspect. So probably 30 units. So this will be the first phase of a 2-phase process.
There's 2.2 and 2 3/4 acres, I think. So.
Yeah, they have a plan where those
storage
units are.
Right.
That's what I was wondering when you said periphery, I'm like.
Right.
Storage units.
The storage units.
So right now,
Yeah, that's called
you have a
That's one last question.
a 1-bedroom apartment right now going for twice as much as your 3-bedroom.
Yeah.
And I know this because I was just looking for my daughter an apartment. Yeah. I mean, that's gonna be nice for those people.
Okay, one more, Mel.
Just one more. Yeah. And how soon is this gonna happen? How soon? Yeah. Because I have people coming to me in business. They ask me that question.
Well, timing, and again, this is largely dictated to us. The application would be filed by April 1st. The award, we would know whether we get an award by June 1st. We immediately go into the pre-construction process, hopefully start construction by the end of the year. And so we're probably looking, I'm not quite sure what the what the time frame is, but probably another 12 months.
Thank you.
It's gonna be a difficult, building to renovate because, we have to basically strip everything out of the inside, and it has to be done by hand. Can't take any, we can't knock down a wall and take a machine in there, so.
And I'll just add one more thing to Joe's timing. Actually, the timing for us is very fortunate right now, because if we were selling this in September, he'd be waiting until next April to make his application. So actually, he's a little bit under the gun right now because they, assuming that you approve this tonight, he's got 30 days to get the application for the tax credits.
You get your money.
Well, the sooner he gets that all done, the sooner we get it.
Okay. All right.
I might make mention too, in the meetings I was with, they've already spent tens of thousands of dollars already on this project, so I'm,
Over 100.
yeah, well, I didn't want to give out the numbers, but thousands of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands.
They will get their money back. It's
So-
a good project.
Yeah, I know, but that to me shows the commitment of
Yeah.
what they're after. I just want to thank them for that, because it's a big deal, and it's.
And one other aspect of the timing to the city's benefit is that, we have agreed to pay the purchase price once we have the environmental clearance, which should be by October 31st. Usually we wait until we get the tax credit funding, but if we don't know by October 31st whether everything's gonna fall into place, then, we don't know what we're doing. So if everything goes well with the environmental clearance, then the purchase price will be paid by October 31st.
All right. Everybody got a warm and fuzzy?
As long as you do what we said you're gonna do, I'm good with it.
Can I start reading the agreement now?
400 and something. No.
Yeah, that will come under, other comments.
By the way, if you ever have insomnia, pick up one of these agreements, start reading it before you fall asleep.
I tried, I read most.
Well-
That's why I didn't want him to read it.
Who wants to be the motion mover? Anybody?
Let me go.
Well,
I don't have.
I motion that we approve the purchase agreement for the Hillcrest property.
I second.
And I would like to just add to that, what would allow, to direct city staff to take all necessary acts associated to that purchase. That would give them the freedom.
Okay.
If you both agree, that's great. We have a motion and a second to approve the agreement of purchase on the sale of real property located at 1 Hillcrest Drive, and direct city staff to take all necessary acts associated with them. Proudly roll call, please.
Councilmember Giacomino.
Aye.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Councilmember Johns.
Aye.
Councilmember Sweet.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klein.
Aye.
Mayor Budge.
Aye. That motion passes unanimously. We thank you for your due
Thank you
diligence.
so much.
And
Thank you, Dan.
And I'd also,
I like him, he was listening.
and I'd like to give a shout out to city staff and the CEGO staff for really going beyond the call of duty to let us get a head start on all the due diligence we got to do. They've been really great. They really have.
Thank you, Joe.
this has been a long process. It's been a year for us getting a hold of it, and now this is just a good culmination, ending to the
Thanks a lot.
process. Thank you very much. All right, well, geez, we're down to city manager.
Okay, the city manager's gonna be brief tonight.
What, y'all gonna read the agreement?
Well, Joe wouldn't do it, so I thought I would. Okay, just so that you're aware, because this does have budget impact, the group that decides how much the tipping fees for the landfill are going to be, starting on July 1st, has met. I happen to be on the committee. The tipping fee will not change for next year. So that will save us, I think something in the neighborhood of, we pay like $200,000 a year or something like that in tipping fees. So it won't go up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not going away.
Yeah, everybody's doing that.
It's just not going up.
You still have to tip.
Yeah.
I will, and just on a side note, our tipping fees at the Cochise County landfill are $64 a ton. Anybody who's been nearly anywhere else in the United States knows that it can easily be over $100 a ton. So, one thing that Cochise County has done right over the years, is manage solid waste in an economical fashion. So, that's a plus for us. And then, just wanted to, remind you, I do have a large set of drawings, for City Hall, in my office. I only have one set, the 24 by 36 plans. So, for those of you who, like me, are visually challenged, they're a lot easier to look at. You just have to come over to City Hall if you wanna look at them. So, we are, moving along with all deliberate speed. Mr. Hopper, plans to have construction documents ready on April 1st. And so, we will bring those back to you, probably if we're ready for the first meeting in April. And if you, approve, then we will be asking at the same time, to go out for bid. So, we're moving right along on that project, so, and that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And we have one council comment tonight from Ms. Johns. Go ahead.
Hello. Let me pull my stuff up here. So the Arts Commission is planning an art festival in October, and I just wanted to update you guys a little bit on how the planning is going and tell you that the poster is coming out this week. And I'll send it to Ashley and she'll post it on the website tomorrow. But right now, I'm gonna read you a note from Karen Schumacher just with a little update. The Bisbee Arts Commission is hosting the Bisbee Festival of the Arts on October 22nd and 23rd on Erie Street in the Lowell District of Bisbee, Arizona. This 2-day festival will include a large invitational exhibition of local artists at David Rose's recently renovated Chevrolet building, as well as outdoor art and craft vendors along Erie Street, an outdoor stage with local entertainment and beer garden. VAC is currently working on the logistics of the event and is meeting with our local galleries and nonprofits in the coming weeks to schedule more citywide events during the festival. The poster and website will be released to the public this week. And if you want to find updated information, look at www.bisbeefestivalofthearts.com. And that's it.
Great. Great event. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We are adjourned.